everyone, this is Wendy Law, Cellist. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe right now and click that little bell button so that you'll be notified of future videos. And of course, I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, all under the same name, Cellist Wendy Law. And today we are going to talk about how to prepare for performance, the day of the performance. How do you get ready and what's your routine so that you can have the most success and that you nail everything in your performance or audition for that matter. So let's talk about it. I've had a lot of experiences touring and playing and performing over the years, so I have developed a routine that works for me now. Obviously, everybody is a little bit different, but hopefully by sharing my routine with you, you may, grab one or two things from that routine that might be beneficial for you as well as you prepare for a big audition or a big performance. First thing first, the obvious, but people sometimes don't do it, is to get sleep. Not just the night before, I would say the entire week leading up to the performance. Always get as much sleep as you can. And certainly for me, the day of the performance, I always try to sleep in if I can so that I'm not tired. And a little meditation would be helpful as well. For me, even just 5 minutes of just quieting your mind and feeling good is really ideal. And always I try to get my dress rehearsal or tech rehearsal early on in the morning, or not early in the morning, but just as far away as possible from the actual performance so that you have plenty of chances to rest during the afternoon. And ideally I take a nap in the afternoon. And in the morning when you have your dress rehearsal, I always try to not play entirely out. I try to save all the goodness, and sometimes it's hard. Like for me, like during dress rehearsal, because you're like almost there to the performance and you're excited emotionally and physically you want to play, but I just try to bring it, just reel it back just a little bit, just so that I save myself for something. And same thing, if your dress rehearsal is too close to performance, then you get exhausted in the performance. And that's exactly what happened to me recently. I had a big performance. That was actually my premiere of Pasión. And tech rehearsal did not start until 1 o'clock officially, and it went for 4 hours. I could not believe it, but there are so many technical aspects to that show. It needed that time for the first time, and it ended up going all the way until almost 5 o'clock. And guess what? By the time it was my show, it was 7:30. I was exhausted. And so now I put into my contract that my dress and tech rehearsal must happen at least 9 hours before the actual performance. That's going to be in writing now, and I am never doing that again because that was such a... I just didn't think that the tech rehearsal would go for like 4.5 hours, but... regardless, I learned from my lesson. But ideally, I always try to have my dress rehearsal early on. In the afternoon, I do yoga, I rest, I take a nap, I do warm up, I do everything really slow before my performance. So up until, like, let's say a couple hours before my performance, whether it's concerto, solo performance, something that's really important, big, always start with scales and warm up. And I talked about this in my other video on my practice routine, which talks about my warm-up routine. So important, just start with scales and to make sure that your body feels good. That is the most important thing, because as long as your body feels good, you feel like you can create anything, you can make any sound that is beautiful. There's a dog in my hallway. It's so important to do your scales, that your body is nice and relaxed and feels good. Ideally, you warm up right after your nap so that your body is like really relaxed and your body feels sleepy, and you just warm up. So don't try to play the concerto from beginning to end right away. Play everything soft. That's actually what I do. I play everything reeled back and soft and slow. 2/3 tempo. That's what Mr. Krosnick always told me. I studied with Joel Krosnick for my master's and artist diploma at Juilliard. And as I was preparing for performances, he always told me, he was like, just do 2/3 of the tempo, and I add to it. I play everything not loud and not all out, and just nice and easy. Feel everything. Feels good on cello, Make sure the cello is resonant, beautiful. I feel the vibration, And so I would do that in my hotel room before I actually go to the venue. A couple hours before, I would say, I would go through all the passages in my concerto, whatever it is, that may be challenging, and I would go through them 2/3 tempo, slow and nice and easy, and do the shifts slowly so I can feel everything. So for example, if I were playing, I don't know, Rococo, like a big shift, like in a performance I might be worried about it, not that I really would, but I would practice something like this in the practice room right before. Practice until I really know where it is. So it's just, I mean, by now you should be prepared physically and emotionally and musically and technically prepared, but the idea of going through everything slow and nice and soft 2 hours before going to the venue is just to remind your mind and your body, mostly your body, where everything is. And also it's a way to give yourself confidence, because if you know you can do it 2 hours before the performance, certainly you can do it during the performance. I would practice like this. On a shift, slow. So I know everything is. Slow. Do like the whole routine of practicing scales, practicing my warm-ups, which I talked about already, and then go through the piece slow from beginning to end. And then I would go to the venue, get dressed, do my makeup, do all that stuff. And by the way, drink plenty of water throughout the day. I normally do not eat a big meal before performance, because that sits in your stomach and it takes energy away, and then for me, when I get nervous, I have to poop. I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but I end up having to go to the bathroom a lot right before performance. So if I eat a lot, that means going to the bathroom a lot, which I want to avoid. So I eat something light that will fill me. There's like this myth about banana. I don't know if that's true. The potassium, it calms your nerves and calms your stomach. So I often eat a couple bananas before performance. I will have like a good, decent lunch during the day. But right before the performance, I would say bananas, plenty of water at room temperature, not cold water, because that's going to shock your system. If it's the winter, definitely nice warm tea, herbal tea before. And then I would get dressed and everything. And then I would do the whole routine again, playing everything slow, warm up again, everything slow, but then I would start speeding it up. Before the actual performance. Then I would actually feel the beginning and play the beginning of a concerto if I were playing Rococo. And feel the feeling. And we'll go through. Or whatever, like I would go through it more in tempo, but still not giving my full out, right? Because you want to save it for the performance. And then I would do a lot of deep breathings. I talked about this in another video. I'll link it right here, where I talked about how to prepare for an audition, technically how to prepare mentally and all that stuff. And I would do some deep breathings and making sure that I have the image of myself playing so well in the performance, and having certain words, keywords, to remind myself how I want to feel, how I want to sound in the performance. So I would just keep breathing and then seeing that, and then just keep centering myself until I go out. And when I go out, right before I go out, take a deep breath, and then you just go for it, and then you play your best performance, because you know you can do it. So there's like a lot of psychological component to being a performer. It's, as I said before, it's very much like being a sports person, an athlete. There is the physical component, there is the mental component, there is musical, technical, cellistic, music, everything. Like, you just have to be very prepared. It's not just about practicing. It's much more than just practicing, because what you do on the day of the performance or audition is everything, and you have to just sort of know already beforehand, like the day before, even the week before, weeks before your actual day. You kind of plan out what exactly are you going to do the day of your performance, so that you know how it feels. You go through it and you're familiar with it, and you know this is just another day of performance. And I don't really get nervous anymore, honestly. I talked about this in my stage fright video. I don't get nervous. I just have certain tools and certain routines that I have done over and over again that have guaranteed success. So I hope this is helpful. If you guys have any questions, do leave a comment down below. I will try my best to answer as many of them as possible. And then of course, don't forget to give me a big like if you liked this video and you found it helpful. It really helps me out with my algorithm, and other people can see these videos by, well, basically you liking the video. And do share with others. And if you want to support my work, you can always become a patron on my patreon.com/Wendy Law. Your support actually helps me out with like hiring filmmaker, hiring editors, and having the right equipment to make these videos. So I so appreciate it. And of course, I appreciate you checking out my visual album Pasión, or you may consider purchasing it on my website, wendylaw.com. And I really appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!